James found me in the hallway after Robert left. He had seen his mother's face at the table. He had seen the statements. He had stood in the doorway and watched his wife receive something that reordered everything he thought he had understood about the balance of things. He sat on the bottom stair. The same stair I had sat on to read the letter. I should have said something, he said. Every time. The dinners. The comments. Every time she said something and I looked at my plate. I looked at him. Yes, I said. You should have. I told myself it was easier not to, he said. I told myself she was harmless. I told myself you were strong enough to handle it. I said. That is not the same as not needing you to handle it with me. He looked at his hands. Your father knew, he said again. He knew me, I said. He knew that the most dangerous thing that could happen was not that I would be poor. It was that someone would use money to make me feel like I needed to earn my place. He made sure that could never happen. For $100,000, James said. For 118, I said. From a teacher's salary. Every month for 31 years. He was quiet for a long time. What are you going to do with it, he said. I had been thinking about that since the bottom stair. I am going to put it in an account, I said. For Rosie. The same way he did it for me. Every month. From now until she needs it. James looked at me. He would have liked that, he said. Yes, I said. He would have. Vivian left shortly after Robert. She did not say goodbye to me directly. She said something to James near the front door in a low voice. I heard my name and the word misunderstanding, and then the door closed. Gerald stopped near the kitchen doorway on his way out. He looked at me for a moment. I am sorry, he said. For the things I let pass because they were easier to let pass. It was the most honest thing Gerald Ashford had ever said in my presence. Thank you, I said. He nodded. Left. Vivian called 3 days later. Her voice had a quality I had not heard before. Stripped of the performed certainty. What was underneath was a woman who had spent 5 years building a version of me that the folder had dismantled in 40 minutes. I want to say something, she said. Okay, I said. I made assumptions, she said. About who you were. About what you came from. About what that meant. Yes, I said. I was wrong, she said. 3 words. Plain. The kind that costs something to say. I know, I said. I said things, she said. At dinners. To family. I said things I should not have said, and I said them in rooms full of people who heard them, and I cannot unsay them. No, I said. You cannot. Is there anything? Time, I said. And consistency. Not grand gestures. Just stop saying the things. Every time. From here. She was quiet for a moment. I can do that, she said. Show me, I said. James had a conversation with his mother the following week. He told me about it afterward at the kitchen table. The table where Robert Hale had sat. Where the folder had been opened. Where Vivian had looked at 31 years of statements and gone quiet for the first time. I told her, James said. Everything I should have said at every dinner. Every comment. Every time I looked at my plate. How did she respond? I said. She cried, he said. Then she said she had not understood what she was doing. Did you believe her? He thought about it honestly. I believe she did not understand the full weight of it, he said. I do not think that excuses it. But I believe it. That is fair, I said. I also told her, he said, that if it happens again, any version of it, I will not look at my plate. I looked at him. Good, I said. He reached across the table. Put his hand over mine. Your father, he said. He did this for you. Every month. For 31 years. He never told you. He told me in the only way that lasted, I said. I opened the account for Rosie the following Tuesday. I set up an automatic transfer. Monthly. The same day every month. The same way my father had done it for 31 years in a house in Millbrook, Ohio, on a teacher's salary. With the same 3 sweaters and the same car and the specific patience of a man who understood that the most important financial decisions were the ones nobody noticed you making. I also kept his letter. In a drawer with things that mattered. His photograph. The last birthday card he had sent. A receipt from one of our Saturday library mornings, a parking ticket he had paid and kept for reasons I had never asked about and now would never know. I read the letter sometimes. Not often. When I need to remember the difference between what someone has and what they are worth. When I need to hear his voice saying the thing he should have said out loud more often. You are enough. You have always been enough. I just wanted to make sure you had something waiting that proved it, in language the right people could not argue with. He had known exactly who the right people were. He had given them a folder with 31 years of statements. They had not argued. My name is Claire Donovan. I am 32 years old. My mother-in-law said I married for money for 5 years. My quiet father, who drove the same car for 11 years and wore the same 3 sweaters, left me a letter and a folder and $418,000 that he had saved every month since the week I was born. He had been gone for 5 years when Robert Hale knocked on my door at 4:17 on a Sunday afternoon while Vivian Ashford was performing her audit at my kitchen table. The folder said everything he had not said out loud, in language the right people could not argue with. I opened an account for Rosie the following Tuesday. Monthly transfers. Same day every month. The same way. She will not know about it until she needs it. That is the point. The people who truly love you prepare for your future before you know you need protecting. They do not announce it. They do not perform it. They save quietly and consistently for 31 years and arrange for a gray-coated attorney to knock on your door at exactly the right moment. My father was a teacher. He drove the same car for 11 years. He wore the same 3 sweaters. He noticed everything and said very little. He said everything that mattered in a cream-colored envelope delivered on a Sunday afternoon. I paid attention to the reaching. If someone has ever left something waiting for you before you knew you needed it, leave 1 word in the comments. Just 1. I read every single one. And if this story reminded you that what someone has and what they are worth are 2 entirely different things, share it with someone who needs to hear that today. Subscribe. The next story is already waiting.
My name is Nora Whitfield. I am 33 years old, and the evening my father's letter arrived, my mother-in-law was sitting across from me at my own dining table telling a story about her son's childhood home, the size of it, the neighborhood, the way certain addresses in certain cities said something about a family before anyone opened their mouth. She had been telling versions of this story for 5 years that I had been sitting across from her for 5 years listening. The letter was in a cream envelope on the front. Step when I had gone to get the mail 40 minutes earlier. My name and handwriting I had not seen in 3 years. My father's handwriting, the specific careful print of a man who had been an engineer for 30 years and approached everything, including penmanship, as a problem requiring precision. My father had been dead for 3 years that I had set the envelope on the kitchen counter without opening it. My mother-in-law had arrived 12 minutes later. I had not told her about the envelope. I had made tea. I had sat down at the table. I had listened to the story about the childhood home. The envelope was still on the counter, 14 inches from where she had set her handbag. Before I tell you what was in that envelope, and I will tell you everything, I need to take you back. To a house in Portland, Oregon. To a father who said very little and prepared everything. And to 5 years of dinners at which I had been measured and found lacking by a woman who had made her calculations the day we met and had never revisited them. If you are watching this, drop your city in the comments. I read every one. Like this video if someone has spent years making you feel like a guest in your own life. Now, back to Portland. I grew up in a house on a quiet street in Portland where the front porch needed painting every 3 years and the kitchen had a crack in the tile near the dishwasher that my father had been meaning to fix since 1997 and never quite got to. My father, James Whitfield, was a structural engineer. He built bridges, literally, the kind that carry weight for decades without anyone thinking about them. He drove a truck he had owned for 14 years. He wore the same canvas jacket from October through April. He packed his own lunch every day for 31 years because, he said, the sandwich you made yourself tasted better because you knew exactly what was in it. He was not wealthy. He was precise. There is a difference. My mother had left when I was 7. Not dramatically, there was no shouting, no scene. She simply stopped being present in increments until one morning she was not there. My father had raised me alone from that point forward with the same methodical consistency he applied to load-bearing calculations. He was not warm in the way people who perform warmth are warm. He was there. Completely, reliably, Unhurriedly there. He died 3 years ago. Lung cancer. 18 months from diagnosis to the end. I drove from Seattle to Portland every Friday and drove back every Sunday for 14 months. I watched him get smaller. I held his hand in the last week when he could not speak anymore, and I talked to him about ordinary things because ordinary things were what we had always talked about, and I did not want the last conversations to be different from all the ones before. He died on a Tuesday morning in March while I was in the waiting room getting coffee. I had always thought I would be there at the end. I had not been. That was the thing I had carried since, the specific particular weight of having done everything and still missed the moment by 7 minutes. I met Daniel Hartley 6 months later. I want to be clear about the timing because Vivian, Daniel's mother, had made implications about it more than once. The implication was that grief made women vulnerable and vulnerability made them strategic. The implication was that I had met her son at a moment designed to work in my favor. The truth was I had met him at a work conference in Seattle where we had both been stranded by a weather delay and had spent 4 hours in an airport talking about structural engineering and whether it was possible to be genuinely funny in a second language and what we both wanted our lives to look like in 10 years. I had not been strategic. I had been a woman who had just buried her father and was beginning carefully to let herself be in the world again. Vivian Hartley had decided what I was before she finished her starter at the first dinner. She was 64. Precise in the way of women who have used precision as a social weapon for decades. She wore cream at every family gathering, a choice I had come to understand was deliberate. Cream communicated money without announcing it. Vivian communicated everything without announcing anything. At the first dinner she asked where I was from. At the second she asked about my parents. At the third she said, in a voice low enough to be private and loud enough to carry, Daniel has always been generous. I just hope he is choosing carefully. Said to Daniel's aunt. Across a table of 9 people, Daniel had been looking at his wine glass. He had looked at his wine glass for 5 years. I had looked at mine too. I had told myself he would find the words eventually. He had not found the words. He had found instead the specific comfort of a man who had grown up inside a particular system and had learned to navigate it by staying very still. I had spent 5 years sitting across from Vivian Hartley being measured. Being found not quite right. Being reminded, in the language of careful women who never say anything directly, that I had not brought the right things to this marriage. And why father would have had thoughts about that. He had, it turned out. He had written them down. Vivian finished her story about the childhood home. Daniel refilled her tea. He always refilled her tea. It was a small gesture that cost nothing and communicated everything, that her presence at this table was welcome, that her comfort was attended to, that she belonged here in a way that was not subject to discussion. I watched him do it and thought about the envelope on the counter. Nora, Vivian said. The way she said my name, slightly elevated, slightly careful, the way you say a word you are not entirely sure of the pronunciation of. Are you still doing the work with the nonprofit? Yes, I said. How admirable, she said. The word landed the way it always did. Like a compliment that had been hollowed out and filled with something else. It pays well enough, I said. She smiled. Of course. Daniel looked at his tea. I looked at the counter. The envelope was still there. Cream. My father's handwriting. 14 inches from Vivian's handbag. I need to check something, I said. I stood up. Walked to the counter. Picked up the envelope. Vivian's eyes followed it. What is that? She said. A letter, I said. From my father. Your father, she said carefully. Has he died 3 years ago, I said. This was held by his attorney. It was delivered today. The table went quiet in the specific way tables go quiet when something has arrived that nobody was prepared for. I held the envelope. Felt the weight of it, heavier than a single sheet, lighter than I expected. I am going to read this, I said. Here. I sat back down at the table. I opened the envelope. Daniel called his mother the following morning. I was not in the room. He went to the study and closed the door and was in there for 41 minutes. I know because I was at the kitchen table with my father's letter and a cup of tea and the specific quiet of someone who is waiting to find out what kind of man is on the other side of a closed door. He came out at 9:23. He sat down across from me. I told her, he said. Everything. Every dinner. Every comment. Every time she implied something and I looked at my wine glass instead of saying what I should have said. How did she respond? I said. She was quiet for a long time, he said. Then she said she had not realized how it was landing. Did you believe her? He thought about it genuinely. I believe she told herself it was not malicious, he said. I do not think that is the same as it not being harmful. No, I said. It is not. I also told her, he said, that it stops. Not scales back. Stops. And that if it does not stop I am going to say so at the table and I will not be apologizing for it afterward. I held my tea. How did she take that? I said. She cried, he said. Then she said she loved me. Then she asked if you hated her. What did you say? I said you were the most patient person I had ever met and that her son had not deserved that patience and was going to spend a significant amount of time making it up to you. I looked at him across the kitchen table. That is the most honest thing you have said about us in 5 years, I said. I know, he said. I am sorry it took your father writing it down for me to say it. Vivian called 4 days later. Her voice had the quality of someone who had put something down and was not entirely sure what to do with their hands now that it was gone. Nora, she said. Vivian, I said. I want to say something, she said. And I want you to know I have been thinking about how to say it for 4 days. Okay, I said. I made a decision about you, she said. The first night. Before I knew you. I decided what you were and I collected evidence for it every time we were in the same room. I ignored everything that did not fit. I was quiet. I was wrong, she said. Not just about the money. About who you are. About what you came from. About what you bring. It was the most direct thing Vivian Hartley had ever said to me. Thank you, I said. I cannot unsay 5 years, she said. No, I said. But you can decide what the next 5 look like. She was quiet for a moment. I would like to try, she said. Then try, I said. Not grand gestures. Just, try. Every dinner. Every comment you almost make and decide not to. That is where it starts. All right, she said. We sat on the line for a moment. 2 women at the beginning of something that was not yet a relationship but was not nothing either. Your father, she said. The bridge fund. Yes, I said. He sounds like someone who understood things, she said. He did, I said. He just did not say them out loud very often. The letter, she said. Was that hard to read? I thought about the bottom of the second page. The line about the jacket. The laugh that had arrived before I could stop it. Parts of it, I said. One part made me laugh. What part? She said. I told her about the jacket. 3 years of life left in it when he bought it. 11 years total. A good return on any investment. She was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed. Small. Genuine. The first genuine laugh I had ever heard from her. He sounds like someone I would have liked, she said. He would have liked you too, I said. He respected people who said what they meant. She understood what I meant. She did not argue. I called Martin Hale the following week. To thank him. And to ask one question. How did you know? I said. The timing. How did you decide this was the moment? He was quiet for a moment. Your father told me, he said. He said, You will know because she will need reminding. Not rescuing. Reminding. Reminding of what? I said. That she comes from something solid, Martin said. His exact words. He said she will forget sometimes. Everyone forgets. The letter is for when she forgets. I sat at my kitchen table with the phone in my hand and the afternoon light coming through the window and the letter in the drawer where I kept things that mattered. He had known I would forget. Not because I was weak. Because 5 years of being measured and found lacking by someone who never said it directly could make anyone forget what they were made of. He had arranged for the reminder. The bridge fund, I kept calling it that, went into an account I opened the following Tuesday. Not to spend immediately. To exist. To be there the way a bridge exists, not because you're crossing it every day but because you know it is there and knowing changes how you move through the world. I also transferred a portion into a savings account I opened for our daughter. Her name is Ada. She is 18 months old. She does not know about the account. She will not know for a long time. That is the point. My father had saved for 31 years without telling me because he understood that the most powerful thing money can be is something waiting on the other side of a difficult moment. Not a rescue. A reminder. I am doing the same for Ada. Every month. Same day. Into an account with her name on it. She will get a letter when the time is right. I have already started writing it. My name is Nora Whitfield. I am 33 years old. My mother-in-law spent 5 years measuring me against a standard she had decided before she knew me. My father spent 31 years saving $294,000 in an account he called the Bridge Fund and arranged for his attorney to deliver a letter at exactly the moment I needed reminding of what I was made of. He wore the same jacket for 11 years. He drove the same truck for 14. He packed his own lunch every day. He said the jacket had 3 years of life left when he bought it. He got 11. That is a good return on any investment. I keep the letter in a drawer where I keep things that matter. I read it when I forget. I forget less than I used to. Daniel stopped looking at his wine glass. Not all at once. But consistently. Every dinner. Every time. He stopped. Vivian is trying. It is not a transformation. It is a woman who made a decision about someone before she knew them and is now, slowly, looking more carefully. That is enough for now. That is where things start. Ada has an account. She does not know. She will get a letter when she needs reminding. I am already writing it. The best structural work is invisible. You only think about it when something goes wrong. Doing it right means never being noticed at all. My father built invisible things his entire life. Bridges. Savings. Letters. I come from something solid. I just needed him to remind me. If someone has ever left something waiting for you before you knew you needed it, leave one word in the comments. Just one. I read every single one. And if this story reminded you that what you come from and what you are worth are the same thing, share it with someone who needs to hear that today. Subscribe. The next story is already waiting.